What's going on? My name is Roman and welcome to Roman Rose Collectible Coliseum. On today's episode, we're taking a look at an oldie but a goodie. This is the DC Essentials Flash. This is figures in the 7-inch scale done by DC. This has replaced, or seemingly has replaced, their DC Icons line, which were a little bit under the regular 6-inch scale, and now you have these figures which are in the 7-inch scale. So, once again, I don't think you need your DC figures to scale with your Marvel Legends. If you really want your DC and your Marvel to match, Mezco is a great option. But for a more cost-effective alternative, I think that the DC Essentials line is giving us some really good stuff. The only thing they're not giving us is accessories. So overall, looking at the sculpt on this Flash, it's actually really nice. He's quite muscular, has a lot of good articulation everywhere. You can see the double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, upper thigh cut, waist swivel, torso joint. So yeah, he has it all here. He's going to be a little bit more posable than the Nightfall Batman that we took a look at, just because he doesn't have the cape restricting some of that movement. But this is overall a really good looking figure, and I'm happy to have this on my shelf. So like we always do, let's start from the ground up and figure out what it is we're working with here. So looking at the feet, good proportion, good size feet. Sometimes when figures get taller, the feet get longer and it looks kind of weird. But we do have a ball joint right here. You see we get movement all the way around, and there is a hinge that you can slide and move, so that's really nice. The only bad thing is that these ratchet into certain positions. So you see this one would be him leaning a little bit too far back. That one's him leaning too far forward. So you don't have a neutral foot pose here unless you take the peg and like spin it sideways, which it really doesn't want to do for me. So yeah, that's a little bit of a problem when trying to stand him. So right now they're both stuck forward, and then if you do them backwards, they fall back. So it's really a little bit more challenging than it should be. There is boot cuff swivel, so that really helps. So talking about that, here's the boot cut swivel right at the boot cut, which is nice. So I really enjoy that they put that in. That's something that we haven't seen from DC before, so it's really nice. Double jointed knees work well. Calf to hamstring, which is really good. We have upper thigh swivel, which works really well. The reds match, so I think it looks good. The hips are a little bit stiff. It's hard to get them coming out just because this is so high that when I go to turn it, it's hitting against the inside of the pelvis. He does kick out almost to 90. It should be just about 90. And then typically we have the butt that impedes the backwards motion, so he does get a little bit of backwards motion. I wish he had more, though, to really, stretch out those legs. Looking at the torso, good little torso joint, goes all the way around. And this is something that I've noticed with these DC Essential figures. This torso joint is one of the most stubborn, hardest to move torso joints I've ever messed with. I've messed with so many different kinds of figures. Never has something been this difficult to move. So there we go. But you hear it, it's a really hard ratchet. So he does have good motion there. I think it looks good with all those other abs exposed. Then you bring them down to a more normal... Where's neutral? There we go. Neutral's right there. Geez, that is really hard to do. And I don't really know why. Just seems like a hard ratchet in there, and the Batman is made the exact same way. Looking at the hands, we do not get interchangeable hands. We do not get accessories. You do get one fist hand, one open hand. That is on a hinge, so that works pretty well. No glove, gauntlet, cuff. There is an upper bicep swivel, which is really nice. I think it's really well sculpted. It goes all the way around, which is cool. And then we have the double jointed elbow, which works really nicely. So far, this is a really good outing from DC. I just wish it was in the 6-inch scale. I know I just said my Marvel Legends don't have to match up with my DC figures, but it would be nice. We will compare this guy to a Marvel Legend later on so you can see how much taller he really is. Looking at the face sculpt, he just looks a little too happy for me or something. I don't know what it is. But it's a good face sculpt. You see the sculpted line right there above the eye. Sculpted line right there above the eye. The fins are a little crooked. I don't know if you can see, but they're both running off to the right. You really can't notice it from head on. It's very hard to notice, but you see the back of that one, and this one looks head on because they are bent. Good sculpt work on the back of the head too. That lining, that I think it's piping. That piping goes all the way around the back. Paintwork overall on this is pretty good. I wish that was sculpted in. I'm afraid that these will rub off at some point in time, but you will still be able to tell it's the Flash. These should be an easy repaint. It's just some line work right there, so it should be pretty easy to do. Yeah, that's, again, looking at that head sculpt, really nice. I like the cut that comes up here into the cheek. It's kind of New 52-y to me. But yeah, so the head moves back that far, which is actually really good. I think that's a pretty good range for the head. And it moves down that far, which I also think is a pretty good range for the head. You can exorcist it, meaning you can turn it all the way around. So overall, this figure's pretty alright. Getting him into some running poses would be a lot easier if I had something like a stand or toe articulation. You know, he is posable, he's just kind of limited. I wish he had 2 running hands. I don't know why he has 1 fist hand and 1 running hand. So let's try to put him in a regular running pose. 1 arm up, 1 arm back, that leg up, that leg back. Maybe we'll put this down just a little bit. Put this one back a little. Open him up a little bit. You can even crunch him if you wanted. With that foot pointing up. I mean, this is a really nice figure. I really like it a lot. But let's go ahead and compare it size-wise to some other figures so you know what it is that you're getting yourself into. They look like 6-inch figures, but they're not. They're bigger than that. And if I'm going to collect this line, I'm okay with that as long as they stay consistent with their sizing. We shouldn't have, you know, shorter female figures that are the same height as these guys. They should scale well within their respective scales. So that's all I'm really hoping for from this line. I'm only 2 figures deep, so I have a lot to learn. Okay, so the first figure I want to compare him to is a Marvel Legends 2-pack Killmonger, because that is a pretty standard size Marvel Legend. Putting him right there, you do see that there is quite a bit of size difference just overall in the sculpt and the size of the muscles. So he's about that much taller. Really shouldn't be that much taller. That puts him in like the 7-foot range if you're scaling him with this. So that is how it will scale with your average Marvel Legend. So not bad, not great. Again, having some trouble with this foot. A little bit of a pain that the ankle articulation is so finicky like that. But yeah, Marvel Legend. For another Marvel Legend comparison, let's go ahead and sit him next to the Juggernaut, who barely fits on the screen. And you see there, that looks a little better. It makes the Juggernaut look a little small, just because he should be this huge, massive figure. And he does look a little bit more normal compared to this Flash. So there's that. Here's Marvel Legends Colossus, which they are pretty close in height. Colossus is a big dude. I think that that works to some extent. Colossus should definitely be more in the 7-foot range. There's not enough of a difference there, I think, for him to be 7 feet. But if they were scaling well together, I do like the way these look. Red and yellow is definitely a motif in my collection, if you haven't noticed. I'm a big red-yellow fan. No more than I am a blue-gray Batman fan, which we've already seen a couple of those. Let's go ahead and compare him to another DC Essentials figure. This is the DC Essentials Nightfall Batman, which these are the 2 that I will be displaying and pairing together, and they both have that ankle thing going on, which is really unfortunate, but here's how they look together. Oh gosh, the ankles! The ankles are so not great. That is the only thing I would change on these figures, is the ankles. If we could have like a traditional rocker the way that Marvel Legends does. I don't know if there's like ankle customizers out there or figure customizers that could help me out, but man, I'd be super interested in getting new ankles on these guys just so that they're so much easier to pose. And then for the final comparison, we're going to take a look at the Mezco Flash. So here is Mezco Flash compared to DC Essentials Flash. And as you can see, there's quite the size difference between the 2. There's even a color difference. These are totally different figures. This is at retail $80 to $100, and then you're going to pay much more for it now in the aftermarket in 2020. And this figure you can get for $20 to $25. So really interesting. I really love having 2 different Flash in my collection. This is kind of the more durable Flash to me. This is definitely the more pose it and leave it and display it Flash. So There you have it. That is DC Essentials Flash. I hope you got enough information to make a informed purchase decision. I really enjoy the figure, especially at the price point, but as you can tell, way bigger than that 6-inch scale. So thank you everybody who watched, and as always, peace, love, keep on collecting, and I will see you guys next time.